Welcome back to part 2 of our basic mechanics videos. We ended last time trying to keep our videos nice, short, and concise. But once again, welcome back to Lit Prey Productions. I'm Joe.
I'm Nate.
Let's dive right back into it. Now that we've gone through a mock scene and had a simple roll, let's talk about some of the common tests that you'll find in the game quite often. Certain things like alertness, keeping an eye on your surroundings, listening for someone coming up behind you, trying to spot a clue somewhere. This is a pretty common test overall. You're going to create a dice pool with your mental wit stat plus your awareness. Once again, you're going to come across this a lot. You're always trying to look around, especially in this grim, dark World of Darkness. Another one that comes up is dodging. When you get into fights, and you're gonna in these games, you're not always trying to take the damage. Sometimes you're trying to get the hell away from it, honestly. Using your physical dexterity stat plus athletics creates the dice pool for that. Hopefully you succeed enough to where you don't got to take the damage they're trying to give you. Now we're going to move on to one of Nate's favorites in this game.
Oh yeah, lying. Lying to everybody. In this game, you're, having to keep secrets from humans, from other vampires. So lying can be a very essential part of how your character makes it through from night to night. And the way you do this is with a combination of manipulation and subterfuge. And that gives you your dice pool for, being able to convincingly tell a lie. Joe, what would be the opposed roll on that? What would be the dice pool for that?
Our opposed roll for that, if you're trying to kind of see through the lie, would be your mental wit stat plus insight, causing your dice pool for that. You'll roll off, and whoever has the most is the winner.
Yep. So it's either you're really good at lying or you're really good at telling if people are lying. Or, maybe both, depending on how you decided to distribute your points around and everything. But those are some good examples of basic roles.
Absolutely. In common tests, you're going to see a lot in these games. Speaking of basic roles, let's talk about one role that's going to happen every time you play. No matter what, if you're playing Vampire the Masquerade, at least once every game, you're going to have to make what's called a rouse check. Now, this rouse check is you willfully moving the supernatural blood in your body to do whatever you need it to. Every night when a vampire wakes up, they have to make a rouse check. Move this blood through their body to not only come back to life, but actually look like something other than a desiccated corpse.
Oh, yeah. And also, you do rouse checks for other things. Certain disciplines, powers require a rouse check. You can make a rouse check to add points to physical attributes. So the rouse check is actually probably one of the most common roles that you make in the game.
Absolutely. And Nate, you want to tell them exactly what happens when you fail that rouse check?
Ooh, when you fail that rouse check, whatever you're trying to do, it still happens. That's the nice thing about rouse checks.
Mm-hmm.
Is when you call to do it, it's going to go off. You're going to make it. But if you fail the rouse check, you will gain hunger. And, if you go up over if you get a full hunger bar, it's all the way up, you've got 5 dots of hunger, you're going to go into a frenzy. And then when you go into the frenzy, you are going to do, like I've said before, some messed up stuff.
Some definite messed up stuff.
Which also brings us into another type of role that you're going to do a lot of times once per game, at least in our sessions.
In our sessions, definitely at least once per game. Remorse. As you continue throughout your now undead life, or unlife as it were, you're going to see things. You're going to do things that you never would as a mortal human. Remorse is how you kind of gauge how well you take it. Sometimes you're able to mentally work it out, where somehow your morals say, this isn't so bad. Other times it strikes you deeper, and it will literally change you.
Yeah, it definitely can change you. I mean, the loss of humanity is going to change the way you play your character. It's going to change the way humans and animals react to you. It'll change everything about the way you play the game.
Absolutely. These checks, as we've stated already, in our games, these come up pretty much once a session.
At least.
At least. They once, as Nate said, we do some messed up stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into how that actually works.
Absolutely. So remorse checks have a dice pool. This dice pool is equal to the number of blank spaces on your stain pool, that is on every character sheet in Vampire the Masquerade. When you do something horrendous or see something horrendous, the storyteller may tell you to take a stain. At the end of each session of story, you will then take the dice pool of open remaining stain spots and roll them. If you garner even a single success, you will lose all your stains and still retain the humanity level that you had. However, if you fail this roll, your stains will still be removed, but you start to lose that humanity, that which keeps you bound to your mortal life, and you start to become more and more of that undead fiend that you've become.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things that most players try to avoid.
Most players.
Yeah, some of us aren't that bright. But yeah, no, basically humanity, if you lose all of your humanity, if you go down to humanity 0, at that point you are no longer a player character. The storyteller takes your sheet and you roll up a new one because your character's out of the game because they have been taken over by the beast. They are now a feral monster, and usually they don't live very long because they're driven completely by their needs and their wants, so they don't think about things. So it's an interesting mechanic, and it's one that is specifically unique to the World of Darkness games. So it really makes for some interesting gameplay.
It really does, especially as a storyteller. It makes it a lot of fun. It's not always death that will get your players out of the game. Suddenly I get to take your character because you've seen too much or done too much, and now I get to turn you into an NPC and possibly even throw you against your coterie or pack, whatever it may be.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's what's always fun is, it's an almost kind of zombie movie sort of thing in it. Your buddy went too far and lost all of his humanity, and then the next time you see him, you're like, "Hey, what's up?" And he's just coming straight at you, going for your throat. So it's a very interesting part of the game. Mm-hmm. And now here's the other way you can get taken out of the game: health. In this game, on your character sheet, you have a health pool. Your health is stamina +3.
Yep.
And that's the number of superficial hits that you can take that, you can survive. Now, vampires are supernatural creatures, just like werewolves. Any of the supernatural creatures in this, superficial health does nothing to them. Vampire takes 3 slugs to the chest. He goes, "Why'd you mess up my shirt?"
While as a human, if you take 3 slugs to the chest, you're just going to get put on a shirt.
Then you have aggravated damage. Aggravated damage is caused for vampires by fire, sunlight, the fangs of other vampires and werewolves. These are things that can actually do you in. So you have to be real careful about them. Also, superficial damage can be healed rather easily just by making a rouse check, whereas aggravated damage has to heal over time. So it's more debilitating. Why don't you walk us a little bit through like the whole thing with healing and like how you get past that and what the penalties are when you hit a certain point?
Absolutely. Vampire the Masquerade has a bit of more limited healing capabilities in a lot of ways. As Nate said, you're using a rouse check and kind of pushing that supernatural blood through your undead body to the points where you've taken superficial damage will allow you to heal that. This is dependent on what at one point in time was called generation. Now it's called blood potency. The stronger your blood potency, the more you can heal each round for each rouse check. Other than that, things get a bit difficult. Aggravated damage for vampires to heal can be exceptionally difficult, whereas things like werewolves, which are still part mortal, can go to a hospital and be taken care of, changing aggravated damage to superficial, even using medicine on themselves or others to help heal that aggravated damage. Makes it a bit easier for them to retain their health and capability to heal.
Yeah, whereas vampires, on the other hand, you're dead, son. You only got one way. But you will eventually heal it. Now, the downside to all this is if you take too much aggravated damage, but it doesn't kill you, you can go into a state called torpor.
This is not a good state for a vampire to be in. We've all seen numerous movies where you throw a piece of wood into a vampire's heart and suddenly they are done and dead, right? Well, that state in this game is a little bit different. You put a stake through a vampire's heart, they will instantly go into a sleep state. Their Bodies will once again look like the corpse that they truly are, and they will be unconscious and not know what's going on around them. At that point in time, very easy to take out.
Oh yeah, at that point, I mean, they're down. They might as well be dead. You know, sunlight, beheading, all those things that normally work in the movies and stuff are going to work at that point. Just like the steak, too much damage can also do that.
Absolutely. Cool little fun point for storytellers. When vampires die, unlike in a lot of media, they don't instantly turn to dust. They actually turn into a desiccated state for how long they've been dead. So now, if you have a vampire that's 5 centuries, a millennia old, you kill them, they're turning to dust.
Yep.
There might be little bone fragments here and there, maybe the skull's still intact, but that's about it. However, if you kill a neonate, a lick,
Yep.
one of the younger vampires, when they die, they're not going to change that much. They're going to suddenly look rigor mortis. They're going to have desiccation to their skin and everything. They will be dried out, definitely. But the body's still going to be there.
Yep. Yep. And that's something you got to think about and deal with. It's not like a lot of the TV and movies where it's, a clean kill.
Yeah, right.
So, well, I think we've pretty much gone over all the health issues that vampires face.
So now let's talk about the other type of damage in all World of Darkness games. Willpower damage. This is mental strain. Mental strain from either a choice of having to re-roll a dice or possibly to retest against a mental supernatural capability. But regardless, willpower damage is still divided between superficial and aggravated. The difference in this is, for the most part, aggravated willpower damage only comes after you have filled up your willpower with superficial damage. Now, there are various different types of supernatural abilities throughout the different races of supernatural creatures that may deal superficial or aggravated willpower damage depending on what it is. If you're a D&D player, think vicious mockery. You make your mama joke to the guy and suddenly he's not feeling so great.
Yeah, the little girl werewolf jumps out, and instead of turning into her giant half-wolf killer form and everything, she just decides to hurt your feelings.
Absolutely. That would be pretty much superficial willpower damage. As I said, predominantly the only way to gain aggravated willpower damage is just from filling up all of your willpower with superficial damage beforehand. Any willpower damage taken after that will instantly turn a single superficial point into an aggravated point. However, not all is lost. At the end of every session, as long as you are playing your character correctly, or perhaps you're talking to one of your touchstones, which is a person, place, thing that really ties you to your mortal life before you became this undead creature, you're capable of reinvigorating yourself with mental strength and willpower after the session is over.
So you can recover from losses of willpower either from spending it to do rerolls or from having Stacy, the little vampire girl, make fun of you, tell you your shoes are stupid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, that looks like we've pretty much covered everything on basic game mechanics. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up here today. Thank you for listening all the way to the end, and we would very much appreciate getting a like and a subscribe out of you. And if you have any questions or anything about any of the stuff that we've discussed today, you can leave a comment down below. And if we get enough comments or requests for a certain topic, we will definitely do a video on it.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks again for coming to Lickbait and listen to us chatter.
Good night, Licks.